Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. So let's sit here and talk all about eyeshadow palettes. I pulled out quite a few from my collection. I have my largest one, my smallest one, my most affordable one, my most expensive one. I have a most memorable one. So we're going to be talking all about that because this is the eyeshadow palette tag video. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, this is pretty much a video that's floating all around YouTube. It's where you pull out palettes from your collection and you put them in certain categories. So like I said a minute ago, my most affordable one, my most expensive one, and so on. So I'm excited because I've never done this. I've never done this on my channel, and I'm also excited because I'm doing it with my girl JASMINE AIRDELLE. You guys, if you don't know who JASMINE is, she is also a content creator. She does beauty videos. So her channel is pretty much similar to mine, but she has more lifestyle on her channel, as well as like try on hauls and stuff like that. So if you guys are into makeup tutorials, try on hauls, vlogs, like weekly vlogs, she does that on her channel. So I will have her channel down below in the description. So she is also doing the same video, which I cannot wait to see her video because I'm curious to see which ones she put in certain categories. So make sure you guys check out her video. Again, I will have it linked in the description. So make sure you watch it after you get done watching this one. But yes, girl, let's go ahead and jump in because I cannot wait to share these with you guys. So let's go. All right, so I have the list on my phone. And again, I'll have the little list in the description if you guys want to do the same video. But the first one says, show your newest eyeshadow palette. And I will say I just ordered an eyeshadow palette. I just haven't gotten it yet, but we're going to say this one from e.l.f. is my newest one because honestly it is before I get the next one. But this is the e.l.f. Retro Paradise palette. I just shared this one in a full face of new product video. If y'all want to see it, I did like a really pretty colorful look. So definitely check out that video if you want to see me do a tutorial with this palette. But this one is my most newest one. It is definitely affordable, but the shades, like some of the shades in here are really crumbly, like they crumble up really easily, but they blend so good. So make sure you guys watch my video where I did a tutorial using this palette. But yeah, this one is my newest one. So this next one says, show your oldest eyeshadow palette, and this one was easy. Very easy. It's the Too Faced Stardust. If y'all watch my declutter videos, like my eyeshadow palette declutter videos, I feel like in every one of those declutter videos, I'm always keeping this one. I just can't get rid of it at all. This is one of their best limited edition palettes in my opinion. The shadows are so good. They're so pigmented. They blend really good. And I just love the color story. Like it's an everyday neutral palette. You have a pop of color, which is the purple. And this brown, I feel like this one, yeah, this one was my most used color. It's called Jackpot. It's a really dark chocolate brown with a little bit of gold shimmer. It is gorgeous. So pretty on the lids. So pretty in the crease. Girl, this is a good palette. This color right here too is called Double Tap. And you have a black, which I feel like is very essential in an eyeshadow palette. So yeah, definitely my oldest palette. And I honestly don't see myself getting rid of it anytime soon, even though it's kind of old, but I like it. All right, girl, next category. Show your most expensive eyeshadow palette. This was a no-brainer, girl. A no-brainer. So every time I look at this palette, every time I open the drawer, I'm like, why did I get this palette? It's the Natasha Denona Star palette. I want to say this was what $165. $175. It was one of those. It's definitely more expensive than the Pat McGrath palettes. So that tells you right there, this one was pricey. But the reason why I say every time I look at it, I ask myself, why did I get it? Is because some of these shades are very crumbly because you have to use something on your brush in order for these shadows to stick. They can be very crumbly. They can have a lot of fallout, especially these shimmers. So it gets really messy. And I mean, you can see the palette right here. It's pretty messy. Really messy. It does come with a little plastic so that way you won't mess up the mirror, but I don't know, I just feel like I could have done without this palette. I think the reason why I got it is because, well, actually I know the reason why I got it is because I never owned, at that time I never owned anything Natasha Denona, and then I was really drawn to the shades in here. Like the color story is really pretty. The mattes are gorgeous. It's just some of these shimmers are really, glittery, really like there's a lot of fallout with these. So I definitely don't think this is worth the splurge. But I mean, it's my first Natasha Denona palette, and I was just like head over heels with the colors, and I just really wanted it, so I got it. But yeah, this is my most expensive one. Okay, next is show your most affordable palette. This was also a no-brainer. The e.l.f. Bite Size palettes. These are $3, girl. When I tell you, these are very comparable to your more like higher end eyeshadows. They do not seem like $3 shadows. I mean, there's 4 different ones in this little palette, but very, very creamy, very easy to blend. I have several tutorials using these palettes. I know I did like 5 different looks using this one. I did a full face of e.l.f. Cosmetics using this one. This one is Truffle. And then this one is the Carnival palette. So if y'all want to see those videos, I do have them on my channel. But if you've never tried anything from e.l.f. Cosmetics, like any eyeshadows from e.l.f. Cosmetics, try these. They're cheap, but they're good. Okay, this next one was kind of hard for me because I have several of these in my collection. But it says, show your everyday palette. So I narrowed it down and I picked out the one that I feel like I have been using the most throughout this month, last month, even the month before that. And that is the Too Faced Natural Nudes palette. It's actually what I have on right now. Yep. It's actually what I have on right now, but this is how it looks. I did a video on this one as well if y'all want to see it. I kind of want to squeeze this one in my 5-look 1 palette series. I know I only have like, what? I have 1 neutral palette in that series, but I want to squeeze in another one, and I think I want it to be this one. But yeah, this is the one I feel like I have been grabbing the most. It's definitely a good everyday palette. I mean, you have really soft everyday shades. You have your neutrals. You also have some metallics in here if you want to just kind of have that glowy eye, but this one is really, really pretty as an everyday palette. And I do want to say one of the main things that I like about this palette is the mattes in here. I mean, a lot of you know I love a matte shadow, but it's something about their matte shadows in this particular palette because when you look at it, it looks light, especially the shades, this one, like this one down. They look really, really light in the palette, but once you put it on the eyes, it's like it transforms into a darker shade. So when it comes down to the lighter nudes in here, I can use all of them. I mean, even the lightest one. It does. I mean, it looks really light on me, but this one right here looks pretty light in the palette, but once you put it on your eyes, it does get darker. The one that I have on my eyes, like the outer part right here in the crease, I actually have 3 on right now, which is this shade, and this shade. So all 3 of these. And then the lighter part on the inner corner, you guys can kind of see where it kind of gets a little light right there. I have on these 2 colors. So I kind of mix these together. But all of these shades in this palette is really, really pretty. So yeah, I feel like I grabbed this one the most. So I would consider this one my current everyday palette. This next one says, show your most colorful palette. Now, if y'all know me, if you know me, you know I am more of a neutral, everyday type of color girl. Like not those pops of colors. I do wear it here and there, but if you know me, I'm not really into a lot of color. So I don't really have a lot of colorful palettes in my collection. But I do have the Makeup Revolution by Patricia. This one has a lot of color in it. And I also like it because it has my everyday type of colors, which are up here. But I would have to say this one is probably my most colorful palette in my collection. Even though I do have a couple of more, I pulled this one out because it has more color than the other ones that I have, if that makes sense. So this particular one is the Rich in Life palette, and she has 2 of them, but this one was the one that really caught my eye. Actually, no, I think I just lied to you guys because I do have the Jaclyn Hill in collaboration with Morphe eyeshadow palette, the big white one. If y'all remember, it's the first one that she came, well, no, because she did come out with one before that, but it's the white one, and it looks kind of similar to this. So if y'all remember all those colors in her palette, I do have that one. But now that I think about it, this one has, I don't know, I honestly don't feel like getting up to get it, but those 2 are actually the only 2 in my collection that are this big and that has that many shades in it. So yeah, I do have another colorful palette in my collection that's, you know, that has that many colors in it. So that's that. What's next? What's next? I should have these memorized. Okay. Show your smallest palette. So I wanted to pull, actually, I think we're going to go back to the e.l.f. Bite Size because I did pull out my Morphe, what is this even called? The Pure Nude palette. Both of these are really, really small, but the difference is, well, actually, e.l.f. is smaller. The only difference is Morphe has only 3 shades in it. So you get a lot of packaging than you, well, no. But compared, like putting them side by side, e.l.f. Bite Size is the smallest. Definitely the smallest. So we're going to say the e.l.f. Bite Size palette. All right, next category is your biggest palette. I want to pull out 2 palettes for this because these are my only 2 palettes in my collection that is my biggest, and they're actually pretty much the same size with the same amount of shadows. So going back to the Makeup Revolution Patricia Bright palette and also my Sephora Pro Warm palette. So both of these are pretty much the same size. Believe it or not, I do not own any Morphe palettes, like those big Morphe palettes. The only one that I have is the Jaclyn Hill, but I don't own like the Morphe 350 or just any of those because I get so overwhelmed with big eyeshadow palettes. I purchased this one by Makeup Revolution because I definitely wanted to support Patricia Bright. I love her. I love her channel. And I also purchased this one from Sephora because when I first, well, actually, I wanted to try out their shadows anyway. I think when they came out with these, this was like their first eyeshadow palette, I believe. So I wanted to purchase it, and plus the shades were like all up my alley. So I could not pass this one up. But yeah, as of right now, these 2 are my largest eyeshadow palettes in my collection. Okay, this next category is show your palette with the best memory, and this was a no-brainer, y'all. Do y'all remember when Jackie collabed with e.l.f. Cosmetics and had her little, what's this called again? The J Glow palette. Do y'all remember this? Do y'all remember this? Do y'all still have this palette? Let me know in the comments if you remember. If you still have this, let me know. But I wanted to pull this one out for this category because this was a year that I won a contest with e.l.f. Cosmetics. Like, I was flown out to San Francisco with e.l.f. Cosmetics. This was the it was their first year doing the Beautyscape, which I think they still do that. I don't know, but it was the first time they ever did Beautyscape, and I won the contest. And I still remember to this day how it all played out, like how I found out I won the contest. Like, I remember where I was. It honestly just feels like yesterday, but that's just besides the point. But the main reason why I say this is my most memorable palette is because Jackie was there. Like, that was the first time I ever saw Jackie in person, first time meeting her, and she is exactly like she is on camera in person. So I just get chills thinking about it, and I feel like I'm cracking up talking about it, but this is my most memorable palette. So we were at dinner and they announced her collab. She was there and they just showed her palette, and it was just so memorable because I was with like my first ever trip with a brand. And girl, this was when I first, like around the time when I first started my channel. I was still really small, and I just felt like, you know, like, I don't know. I get lost for words every time I talk about this, but definitely hands down my most memorable eyeshadow palette. So let me know if you guys still have this. Let me know. Comment down below. And I just will never, I feel like I will never get rid of this palette. So yeah, girl, this palette holds a lot of memories. It's very memorable, and I just looking at it just takes me back to that moment, like being recognized by e.l.f. Cosmetics and just having the opportunity to be with them in San Francisco and just experience what I've never experienced, and just being on the plane for the first time and just seeing Jackie in person. Girl, let me just stop talking about this because I will get emotional. Okay, next one is, oh, speaking of Jackie, I wanted to put her palette in this category. It says, show a palette worth the hype. The reason why I wanted to put, okay, first of all, let me show you. This is the Jackie Aina palette. But the reason why I wanted to put this palette in this category is because I feel like her palette was one of the most hyped up palettes of, was it 2019? it was 2019 when it came out. This was one of the most hyped up palettes, I feel like, because I mean, it's Jackie, hello, Jackie Aina, and she collabed with one of the biggest brands, which is Anastasia Beverly Hills. And when you think about hyped up products, you think about, okay, everybody's hyping it up, but it's not really worth the hype. This is one of those palettes that everybody was hyping up that was actually worth the hype. Like, she put her foot in this palette. This is a brown girl's dream palette. Like, every single shade that she created in this palette works for people of color. Like, there's no color in here that's ashy. There's no color in here that's too light. Like, every single shade works. And a lot of you know what I'm talking about. Like, there are a lot of palettes out there that we have to use a certain amount of shades in that palette without it looking too ashy, too gray, or just too light and just ashy. So this right here, Jackie put her foot, she put her toes, she put her hand, she put everything in this palette. So kudos to her. If you don't have this, girl, do they still have it available? If they still have it available, get it. Get it, because every color in this palette is gorgeous. It works. It shows up. It's not ashy. It is just, so yeah, in my opinion, this was definitely one of the most hyped up palettes that was totally worth it. Okay, a lot of you are going to come for me for this next one, but it says, show a palette that is not worth the hype. And I think this was easy for me because since I decluttered a lot of my palettes, this was the only one that was still in my collection that was probably one of the most hyped up palettes when it first came out. And now that I've experienced a lot of other palettes that are kind of similar, if not better, this one is totally not worth the hype. So it is the ABH Modern Renaissance. I know. I know a lot of you are going to be like, girl, what are you talking about? But yes, in my opinion, this was one of the most hyped up palettes in the past. But now that I have tried out other palettes, like other neutral, warm tone palettes, I look at this one and I'm like, girl, this is not, like, it is not. The only shades in here that I love is these darker, like the plums, the orange, this brown. Even this brown is like it's not like a true brown color. And after using the Jackie Aina, I feel like I'm scarred after using Jackie's palette, because the brown in her palette is called Credit. This is a true brown shadow. The one in the ABH Modern Renaissance is called Cypress Umber. When I put this on, it looks gray, like straight up gray. So I don't know if my palette is just so old. I don't know. But now that I have used other palettes that are like warm tones, rosy tones, like browns, orange, all of that, I feel like I don't even need this one, because the other ones that I use are better than this. And all of the looks that I created with this palette were really pretty. But I'm just saying, this one, I mean, it was so hyped up, but now I feel like it's totally not worth the hype. This next category was really hard. It says, show your favorite palette from your favorite brand. I have several favorite brands, so this one was kind of tough. So what I did was I pulled out a palette that I know was one of like the best quality palettes, and that is Pat McGrath. I pulled out two. It was hard for me to kind of narrow these down, but Pat McGrath has some of the best shadows, and I feel like it's hard to dupe her shadows. I haven't come across any palettes that are similar to hers. And I say that because her formula is very different. Very different. Like her, I forgot the finish of her like shimmery. It's a certain name that she uses, but very different. I haven't come across any palette that's close to similar. Maybe like some of the mattes in her palette, but like these colors in here, like these shimmery metallic shades, I can't name a palette that's similar. Like, if y'all can, let me know, but I have not come across any palettes that are dupeable to her palette. So I wanted to pull these out for this category because, like I said, her palette, like her shadows, are some of the best shadows. They're great in quality, and also the way they blend on the eyes, they are so good. And plus, her brand, like Pat McGrath in general, is definitely one of my favorite brands as far as like high-end brands because her stuff is not cheap. But I pulled out both of her palettes. This one is the Mothership 5. This one was my favorite one out of all of them before she came out with the Divine Rose, what is this? The Divine Rose 2. And I just recently did a tutorial using this one, but it's hard for me to pick between the two because I love this one for the purples, the pinks, the rose colors, and then I love this one for the brown, the neutrals, and also there's a purple in here, but it's a deeper purple than the one in here. But it was hard for me to choose, so I would have to say Pat McGrath is definitely one of my favorite brands, and the Mothership 5 and the Divine Rose 2 is my two favorite palettes from her brand. So yeah. Okay, girl, we are down to the last one. This is the most used palette. This was hard, very hard, because I feel like I dip into my palettes like kind of equally, especially if I want that everyday type of look. But I did narrow it down, so I kind of picked out some that I feel like I dipped into the most, and then I narrowed it down from there. And the one that I feel like is my most used is this one from Bare Minerals. It's the Gin Nude Latte palette, and even the front of it is worn off because I use it so much. But this is a 6-shade palette. You have 2 mattes and the rest are metallics. I think the reason why I say this one is my most used because every time I wanted to go for like a matte and also a metallic look, I would usually grab this one. So the gold in here, the bronze color in here, there's a lighter shade in here right here. I said here like a lot right there, but the lighter shade, I usually put it in the inner corner. There's a bronze color that's really pretty all over the lid. The gold is really pretty all over the lid. And these 2 mattes are my most used out of the palette. But like I said, if I wanted to go for a golden bronzy look, I usually would grab this palette out of my collection because, I don't know, it was just easy to grab. It's small. I can just, you know, throw it in my vanity. Just, I don't know, it's just there. So I feel like I said, I feel like this one was probably my most used palette. So again, this is the Gin Nude Latte from Bare Minerals. All right, girl, that is it. That is all that I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I cannot wait to see what Jasmine pulled out. I am very curious to see what palettes she pulled out of her collection because, girl, I'm just curious. So make sure you guys head on over to her channel. I will have her video in the description, so make sure you guys check it out. Subscribe to her channel while you're there because I'm watching. So make sure you guys subscribe. And yeah, so that's all. That is all that I have. If you enjoyed today's video, give me a huge thumbs up. Make sure you guys subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.